Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm Yesha if you're new here. Today I wanted to make a video on how to build meaningful connections online and where to find people and, just how to navigate the whole online scheme, the potential upsides, potential downsides, things like that. So I hope you enjoy it. The first thing I want to talk about is why. Like, what is even the purpose and what are the things that you can get out of it? So obviously this depends on where you are in your training. So if you are a medical student who's thinking of starting an online presence, aka social media or anything like that prior to this application season, I think that it's wise to start thinking about the things that you want to talk about and what you want to say and who you want to be online. And obviously you have to keep it professional. I always suggest, uploading your ERAS photo or a similar professional photo and introducing yourself. That's been a new trend this year is, applicants are introducing themselves to the Twitterverse. They're saying like, hi, I'm so-and-so and I'm applying into radiology this year. And I think that's really smart because you can tag, future rad res, future peds res, whatever future blank res you're applying into. And that can really get the conversation started and does a lot of the work for you. So if you are thinking of starting on Twitter, that can be an easy way to start to make connections just right off the bat. And you'll learn like certain hashtags and certain people to tag in your tweets just so that they can gain more visibility. And I think those are the really smart ways to kind of get into the communities that you want to online. So if you are interested in radiology, then starting to tweet at people that are already involved in the radiology community online, tagging things like ACR, ACRFS, the future address, whatever it is, like those are the types of people that you want to see your tweet. And so if you don't tag them, you're not going to be able to communicate with the people that you really want to. So that's my first piece of advice is if you are just starting off, make sure that you're following the right people. And I actually have a list on my Twitter account called, like, I don't remember now exactly what it's called, but it's pretty obvious which one it is. It's like people to follow for future rad res, something like that. And that will kind of get you started and you can figure out who to follow from there. Having an online presence also helps when you're attending like conferences, for example, because if you really enjoyed someone's talk, but now the thing is over and you don't have their contact information anymore, like their talk is over, you don't have their contact information, or you want to connect with them, or you really valued what someone said, social media is a great way to just have access to so many people. And I think that's really where it's very valuable, is just having access. So that's another reason to be on Twitter, for example, is to just kind of go off of these things that you're attending as a medical student. Maybe you're attending open houses that may happen again this year, informational sessions, and you want to get in touch with somebody, but you didn't write down their email address or something. Most of us are on there, or I won't say most, but many of us are on there. And a lot of people that are presenting at conferences are on Twitter. And so I think just being able to connect with people and having like direct access to so many people, that's really, really special. And I think that's really the main reason why you should be on Twitter. Another major reason to be on social media is just so that you're aware of all of the events that are going on. This doesn't mean you have to be actively tweeting, you don't have to be like making an effort and putting yourself out there, but even just following the right people can, get you an invite into all of these places that you otherwise wouldn't know about. So lots of virtual open houses, even for fellowship there were some that I saw advertised on Twitter. YouTube videos of different departments that are coming out. Otherwise, there's no centralized location for all of this information. So I think Twitter is a really great place, even if you're just gonna lurk, even if you're just gonna be there for following purposes. I think it's really valuable to at least be there so you don't miss out on opportunities for you to learn more about programs that you're interested in or learn more about people that you're interested in, that you see as a potential mentor or program director in the future, something like that. So just being there to see those types of things I think is really valuable. People also often share journal articles and things of that nature, like educational resources. So I think having a presence for that reason alone is also really important. I think if you're, for example, interested in diversity, equity, and inclusion, you'll easily find the people that are interested in that. They are constantly doing work on that. They are constantly publishing about that. And you can really get tuned in and you can really read what they're writing, like see who's doing it, and you could even potentially get involved with that if that's something that interests you. So that's another reason why you should be on Twitter or have at least a presence on social media, at least be there so you can kind of absorb that information, save articles for later when you have time to read them, and see what type of work people are doing. I often say that like research, I never liked research ever. It just wasn't something that I enjoyed. But for me, that was because I didn't know what types of research really existed. And I didn't know that I could do research for diversity, equity, inclusion. I didn't know I could do research for, you know, specific ways like education, things that I'm really interested in. And now that I found that, I actually really enjoy kind of the whole process. I mean, it's definitely a lot of work, and it's not going to be for everyone, but if you're someone who hates research and you just don't want anything to do with it, you know, consider looking at other ways and other things that people are doing, because you may find something that you really enjoy. And I think social media is a really good way of finding it, because unless you're going to sit through and like flip through journal articles, you're not going to have a curated like feed of articles like that. And I think Twitter is a great resource for that, because you can just kind of scroll through and passively kind of take in the information. And it's really interesting the types of things people are doing. And if you can see yourself being someone like that, I think that's a great way to just dip your toes into like academics if that's something you're interested in. One thing that Twitter really taught me was things that I'm passionate about. And I think that I was able to get involved with diversity, equity, and inclusion work because of Twitter. I first learned that I was interested in that because I kept kind of going back to the same types of tweets. I kept retweeting things that were all kind of similar. I started like just reading them. I started opening articles that were kind of similar that people had tweeted out, and I kind of realized this about myself, that oh, this is something that I really enjoy, because otherwise like I kind of just skip through articles. I won't really even click on the links, for example. So this was like, oh, this was me learning something about myself because of social media. And because of social media, I was able to connect with people here in Boston that were able to kind of loop me in for a lot of ongoing projects. And we just didn't have that at my program. And I think that this is a really amazing way to connect with people about things that you're interested in. So not only did I learn that about myself because of social media, I was able to start working on it right away because of it. And I think that in that way, it can be really helpful for you if you are kind of exploring radiology or exploring a specialty, exploring all of medicine. You might start to realize that, oh, I'm really gravitating towards, you know, different articles that are related to pediatrics, and now all of a sudden now you realize that you like peds. I think, so yeah, that's just another way that I think Twitter can be useful to you. There are obviously always downsides to anything, especially on social media, and one of them is obviously like, it's very easy to misconstrue things. So you have to be very careful what you say online. People will undoubtedly misconstrue things, even if it's not what you meant. I mean, happens pretty often, and I think that's one reason why people just stay off of it, which I completely understand. And so you do have to be a little bit careful what you say. So that's definitely one downside, is that it's easy to kind of judge other people. People judge you just for like something that you didn't even mean to say, and I think that's kind of the downside, the main downside in my opinion of social media. A lot of people also believe that because of what I just said, that like, oh, you're editing what you say and you can't just like get on there and tweet whatever you want, that you're no longer being yourself. I would say that I'm always being myself. I'm here on YouTube, on Twitter, on Instagram. Like, I'm always just being myself. I mean, obviously if I didn't have my Instagram account that is like a professional account, I would probably just be putting up photos of like flowers and my husband and, you know, my friends and stuff. But I've chosen this life for myself. I've chosen this is something I'm really passionate about and interested in. And so that's for me what I want to use social media for. So you have to decide for yourself, like, what is it going to be for? Do you want a professional account? Do you want a separate account for to do whatever with? Or do you just want to stay off of it? And that's a personal decision. So there are a couple downsides, but I think overall it's very useful. So now I'm going to go into how to do it. What is the right way to do it? So I already mentioned, like, if you are going to start a Twitter profile, you definitely want to upload a professional looking photo or something that's, you know, doing a hobby that you like, but nothing that would be considered unprofessional. And you want to create a bio, for example, like 4th year at blah, blah, blah medical school, if you want to include that, interested in whatever, and maybe a couple things about yourself. It doesn't have to be just related to medicine. It can be like a, you know, coffee snob or whatever it is that you enjoy doing. Like a lot of people have that on their profile. So just kind of go through and see what other people have. But I think that's a really good place to start. And again, you don't have to tweet. You can just be there, But the only reason I recommend medical students and even residents and fellows join is because I don't want you guys to miss the important events and articles that are being shared online. I think it's really valuable to just glean that information. I think COVID was the perfect example. Like, things were coming out so fast, and like the Society of Thoracic Radiology was sharing things on social media. Like, it was so interesting to see how fast things were changing, and a lot of the information was coming out through Facebook. I remember I joined a Facebook group with physicians, and that was having a ton of information. So Twitter was, you know, coming out with new things every single day. And if you just remove the COVID portion of that, that's really what Twitter is. It's coming out with different educational opportunities. It's coming out with different research opportunities, leadership opportunities, like I already said education, but like research articles. It's just so rich with different material and opportunities, and I can just say the same things over and over again. So anyways, even if you're just gonna lurk, it's fine. Just be there, follow the right people, and that way you have access to everything that someone on Twitter does too. Another really valuable tool that you can, you know, use Twitter for is to learn about programs and learn about the people that are there. So for example, if you are a single person looking to move to program X, Y, or Z, and you're kind of interested in, like, are the people at those programs more family, like, do they have families? Are they mostly single? I mean, that's a really easy thing to answer on social media, because you can see what types of content they're creating. Are they all hanging out with their families? Are there lots of kids involved? Are they mostly single? You know, like, you can pretty much figure that out. And if you can't, I will say, if there are questions that you have that are not answered on their social media, a lot of times you can easily reach out to residents. And I don't think that any resident would be offended that you're asking a question to them directly, even though, like, you don't know them already. I think that most residents want to help you make a good decision for where you want to go for residency, the things that you're interested in, if you're going to find those things that you're interested in at that program. And a lot of that, yeah, you can do easily on social media. And I'm sure that a lot of fourth years will tell you that the virtual interview day, it's very long, it's tiring, and by the end of it, you may still come away with some questions that you just either did not get time to ask, or were not motivated to ask, or you just wanted the day to be over, but then you know, 3 months later have forgotten the answer to that question. A very common one, for example, is moonlighting. You know, you might in the moment ask about it, and then 6 months later, it's all jumbled up with like every other program that you interviewed with. So social media can, again, reconnect you. If you still have all the paperwork, or I guess now it's not paperwork, it's an email, then you can reach out to everyone by email. But social media is great in that regard too, because you can kind of figure out the culture. You can see, do the program directors, like, do they hang out with the residents? Is it kind of cohesive? Is it very separate? Are there fellows? Do they hang out? Like, you can really figure out a lot of that stuff just by following programs, program directors, fellows, residents on social media. A really important part of the virtual experience, I will say, is attending conferences. And I'm really passionate about this because I go to a lot of conferences. I enjoy conferencing. I've done the whole in-person thing, and I also now have done the virtual thing a number of times. And I think that you can navigate the virtual conference platform and experience in a way that can be really beneficial to you. We're about to approach the AUR meeting, which is really great if you're interested in education. This is for radiology, by the way. So the Association of University Radiologists. And then there's also the ACR coming up. And then I don't know if medical students really do SIIM, but if they do, it's the informatics meeting. And those are the three that are really coming up that are like major conferences in radiology. I know AUR is free for medical students, and I know that ACR is also free for medical students. I don't remember about SIIM. So if you're going to come to any of these conferences, or any in the future, I highly suggest you look at the program in advance and star like 5 things that you definitely want to watch, and be there for those talks. You don't have to ask a question during the talk. You don't have to do anything during the talk, but be there and kind of soak up the information and get the contact information for the person presenting, if this was something that you were specifically interested in. Do this and the reverse is also true. So if you know that you're kind of interested in a certain program, or you think that you might have interests that align with a certain person, look up what they are presenting at these meetings, at these conferences, and you can connect with them after their talk and talk about, you can say, oh, I love your talk, etc. I also see this other work that you've done. Can we collaborate on something? Or do you have a minute to talk about X, Y, and Z? Whatever it is, whatever questions you have, whatever you want to ask them, that's a great way to kind of get integrated into whatever it is. Secondly, a lot of the conferences will talk about how to get involved at the organizational level at a lot of these events, at a lot of these conferences. And so that way you know, when do I need to submit my application? Who do I need to talk to? And a lot of times if you submit and you don't hear, you can reach out to certain people that you remember from the conference who will help get you involved right away. There's usually not a cap on like, oh, we can only take like, you know, X number of people. There's usually always a place for someone to be. And so if you know the right people, that will help you get a position on a committee or something that you want. Now, if you're a medical student looking to apply to radiology, I think that's a really good way to get involved right away. You can usually get involved that same year, and that's really great on your application because you are doing radiology specific things. It's not just like AMA, it's like radiology specific. You are showing your interest and you're doing volunteer time. So definitely attend all of these conferences. Look ahead, think about what you want to attend, and reach out to people that you would be interested in talking to on a more personal level. That's really what we do at regular conferences too. And it goes one step further. So this year, because we've all been dealing with this for a whole year, there are a lot of more virtual networking events. I will say, it's not a waste of time to go to these events. You are utilizing your time wisely if you attend the events, camera on, professional outfit, you know, like you are there to really discuss things with people. Now, the virtual networking events, I will say, are like more casual. They're supposed to be fun, and they're supposed to be more like, you know, what general questions do you have? And if they find out you're a medical student, they will be super excited to talk to you about radiology. I mean, we all love when medical students actually come to these things because you don't come very often. And so definitely show up, camera on, seriously, ask a question. Even if you have to make one up on the spot, just ask a question. And that's an easy way to connect with people. And a lot of times if you say like, oh, I'm so-and-so from wherever, they will either like know someone at your institution, or they will be like, oh, you must know like so-and-so. Or if you say like, oh, I'm hoping to, you know, learn more about education, they will say like, oh, well, let me put you in touch with so-and, like there are so many ways that conversation can go, and it almost always will lead you to a person or a committee or something like that. And I think that, I mean, if you are attending these conferences for this purpose, it will pay off. That's all I can say. It will pay off. And that's just one example. If you're just not about the social media life and it's just not for you, definitely attend virtual conferences. You don't have to be on social media to attend the conferences. I will say that Twitter is a nice adjunct to the conference world because a lot of people are live tweeting things. You'll see a lot of the slides that are going on maybe during concurrent sessions that you cannot attend. You will see who else is in the session that you're in. It's just really fun to see like different people talking about, it's like just more conversations that we just can't have in person. And so if you are interested in being on Twitter, I think during conferences is probably the best time to be on Twitter. If you're just not about the social media life, like just think about either A, getting on there to at least see what else is out there, just to see it. You don't have to participate, and you definitely don't have to connect with people, but just to see, you know, what can I get involved with, what events are going on that I may be interested in, and what are programs like what is radiology like. I think this will give you a very good insight into those questions. And of course, if you're just not interested, at least attend our conferences. That's something you'll probably be doing as you like go through your radiology career, if you're interested in that, and at least see like what types of things people are talking about. I think it's really valuable. You'll see the leaders in our field, you'll see how people interact, and I think all of that is really important when it comes to making a decision about where you want to go, the specialty. And honestly, at these conferences, you will see a lot of different people from various institutions. And so if you are thinking ahead to fellowship or to residency, you can start to figure out like, oh, this person is at program X, this person is at program Y. And if you are really having a hard time figuring out you know, where to go, those types of things can help you figure out like what it is that, where it is that you want to go. As step 1 becomes pass fail, it's going to be even more important to start to make these connections early, to start to put your foot in the door to departments early, and to kind of learn about like what different programs are like. And I'm just not sure that in the next year things are going to go back completely to normal. So while it's still early, I think it's important to kind of get online and start to start to make these connections. It's really fun once you're on there, and yeah, give me a shout if you're on there and I'll definitely connect with you. So I hope this was helpful. It was kind of long, but I feel like it was really important. I was just, like I said, in the conference, and it just like really inspired me again to kind of come on here and tell you more about why it's so important for everyone to be on social media. It's such a fun place to be, and yeah, come say hi. Thanks everyone. Bye.